Hello and welcome to Metal Vice, a podcast where we talk about all things music.
Well, the things we care about.
That's right, which is mainly metal music and live music. I'm one of your hosts, Brian, joined with the other host,
Karen,
Karen, what is this episode about?
we saw some shows in Ireland.
Yes, this is going to be a fun show, at least for us anyway.
A fun show.
It's going to be fun to look back on this.
It'll be fun to look back.
It's been over a month now since we've
Yes.
seen these shows.
Yes.
And just to set the stage, we did go to Ireland, I guess we just said that about 5 weeks ago or so, at the
Yes.
beginning of March, end of February, thereabouts.
Yeah, I was there before you were at the end of February. You came March 1st.
And why did we go to Ireland?
Well, I had to go for work, and then you tagged along to get a little vacation out of it. Well, not really. You worked during.
I did
too.
work while I was there as well. There was work I could do while I was over in Ireland. But it was sort of like a quote unquote free / cheap trip, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like the room was being paid for by your work, so I
Yes.
could just go and bum space there. The flights that I took were free in terms of we used our points
Yeah.
to get me there. So all in all, it was like a cheap trip for me to go to Ireland.
Yes. Yeah. Cheaper than both of us paying to go.
A free quote unquote trip for you.
100% free. Yeah. Minus the shows and a
Some
couple things that we did.
expenses, yeah.
But the touristy things were not free, but everything else was free for me.
But getting there, your room, your board, your food, all of that was free.
Yes.
So all in all, it was like a win-win for me. Like, sure, I'll go to Ireland on the
Yes.
cheap, and while we're there, let's go see some fucking music, which we love.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing on when you were going to go was when can you go with the concerts that are there? Because it's a small country, and for our type of music, it was a very small selection of shows that were available during. I was there for 3 weeks. You were there for a week.
Yep.
So it was just a small grouping of shows that were available during that time. So it was like, when can you go to optimize show times?
Yep.
Does that make sense?
So when I flew in on a Thursday or Friday?
So leaving Chicago, you left on Thursday. You got there on Friday.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
It's a red eye.
That's what it was. Okay. So Friday I got to Dublin. Then Saturday night in Dublin, we saw Evil was there.
So this is March 2nd.
March 2nd,
Yes.
right. After that, the very next day, we took the train out to Limerick, where we stayed the rest of the week. There's another venue there, Dolan's, where we saw IEDC, we saw together.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
IEDC, which is Ireland's AC/DC tribute band.
Yes.
And then we went back to Dublin for me to fly home. You went back to Limerick for work because that's where your office was. And you were able to see Cattle Decapitation.
Yes.
By
myself. Yeah.
By yourself. We're going to talk about that show we're going to do another episode about seeing shows alone, because while you were in Ireland seeing that show by yourself, I saw 3 shows here in Chicago by myself.
You did.
Because there's a lot of shit announced here in Chicago, a lot of shit
Yeah.
going on here that you were away for. And it's like, fuck it, I'm not going to stay in the house and just be
Right.
bored. I'm going to go
Yeah.
see live music because that's what I love.
Like when I had to plan my dates, well, not me planning, but when work was trying to plan my dates, because I had some say in that, that was a big thing of like, I needed my dates announced to me so that we knew what shows to buy. Because I would hate for us to buy 2 tickets for those shows that you went to and then me not be able to go. But also, originally I was supposed to go in the fall.
Of last year in 2023.
Of last year, like fall, beginning of winter time, like November to December time frame.
Yeah.
And
'Cause I think they were saying like, well, you could go over Thanksgiving, but people love Thanksgiving, so I don't want to take that away from you.
And I was like, it's fine. I don't need to be home for Thanksgiving.
We really hate. I don't know about you. I fucking hate Thanksgiving with.
I don't like it
fucking
anymore
passion.
because it's just a lot of work for 30 minutes of eating, and it's hard to cook all the foods I like for me. So I think maybe I should try like where you go pick up a meal from somewhere that's already cooked, and then I could just eat that.
But as you remember that being funny, being like, we don't want to send you over Thanksgiving, and you being like, that's fine.
Yeah,
Like,
it's fine.
Thanksgiving's kind of a joke anyway. As long as Brian gets to go see his movie on Thanksgiving night,
Yeah.
like that's all he gives a shit about.
But I guess the big thing then when like they were trying to think of my dates then was Decibel Beer and Metal Fest.
Yes, that was a big thing.
And it was like, I need to know today if I'm going or not because we need to buy tickets. And you bought Decibel tickets before I went. And then we bought me a ticket later because the dates got
we
changed.
assumed you were going to be there. So I was like, I'm fucking going to Denver then. I'm going to go see this show.
Yeah.
And then it was later on, you're like, it's looking like I might not go. And I was like, well, I guess, sorry, you're going to stay here in Chicago because I'm not fucking missing this. But they still had tickets. So I'm like, all right, fine.
Yeah.
You can come with.
So anyways, long story to say, when we were planning your days on when to come, it was to optimize seeing 2 shows instead of just one.
Right. And that kind of became the question, right? Of those 3 shows, do I see Evil, IEDC, or do I see IEDC and Cattle Decapitation? And again, that then also impacted the shows here in Chicago.
Yes.
By myself, I would have seen, because there was shit that first week I would have missed that I did miss. And there was shit that I would have missed the second week that if I hadn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, we're going to talk all about that in a different episode about going to see shows alone. It's not just going to be about these particular shows. It's going to be it's mainly going to be focused on these, but we're going to do like a little chat
a little bit more
about just the overall experience. But the ones we chose for me to go to, and kind of I wanted to do this because not that I don't like Cattle Decapitation, but it's something that I can more than likely see here in the States.
Oh, yeah. So the 4 bands that I saw on my own were all U.S. bands.
Right.
So I think that this was the better choice.
Evil and the bands that opened for them were all in the UK and Ireland.
Yes.
Local bands, right?
Localish,
so bands that you're not guaranteed to see in the States, if ever.
Yeah.
So that was sort of a no-brainer for me. I wanted to go to that show to see music that this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me to see these bands.
Well, and even Evil, so Evil played at Dolan's in Limerick on the 1st, and then they played in Dublin at Whelan's on the 2nd.
Right, yep.
So that was another part of it, is like, okay, do you come all the way to, like, do we see them twice? Because we knew we were going to Dublin.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, we did talk about seeing them in Limerick and then also seeing them in Dublin, because we knew we wanted to go to Dublin to tour, be a tourist, I guess, or whatever. So we talked about seeing both shows, but
I mean, that would have been fun too.
It would have been fun. You would have been exhausted though.
I would have been.
There's no way you could have done that.
I would have managed. I would have found some way to power through for sure. But
anyways, let's talk about Whelan's a little bit.
Let's talk about Whelan's. Yeah. Whelan's from a venue perspective.
Yeah. First, I was going to try to like explain where Whelan's is, but I have no fucking clue.
So
it's on a street in Dublin.
You're not wrong. It is on a street in Dublin.
Well, it's hard because they don't do addresses like we do. It's like
it's also weird.
It's like a location.
It's Ireland, right? Like this place is fucking older than the States itself. At least the United States. There were civilizations here in North America for a long time, but if you go to any city here in the city, or any city here in the States, that city, the oldest it gets is Boston, New York, right? Like those fuckers are old, but they're not as old as Limerick, not as old as Dublin. Like this shit goes back to medieval goddamn times.
Yeah.
And the streets, they're not grid laid out. I bitch about people saying Chicago is a grid layout all the time.
But it's nice, isn't it?
Because it's not a grid, because a grid has 5 corners. Chicago has at least 4. So, not a grid, motherfuckers. But also, Chicago's a goddamn grid. This trip made me realize Chicago's a grid. Like it's so
easy to get around.
Nice, and it's so understandable. Dublin and Limerick, and I guess those are the only 2 cities I went to. The roads are so fucking windy, and they turn, and then another one branches off this way. It's like a fucking tree. It's just going all over the place, windy, and whatnot. Boston, I hear, is very similar to that. I've never actually been into Boston proper to explore that city. I hear it's very similar, but it's fucking windy. And Whelan's is down one of these windy sort of roads that kind of it goes straight, but it curves.
Yeah.
At the same time.
Well, this one, it's definitely on a straighter street, and it's I don't even know where it is.
Yeah, and
anyways, it's
all of the shops around it. Like it's a whole, like I don't want to say metropolitan area, but it's a whole area where every sort of building is a storefront.
Yeah.
It's a storefront, bar, storefront, bar, restaurant, like all down this road, right? And this is just one of those things in there. There's a pub across the street, like a brewery.
A brewery.
And
Yeah.
like which is also a pub. They're like,
No, they're different. And one guy told me that they're different.
did they really?
Yeah, because I was like, when we were in Limerick, I was taking I had to take a taxi to work every day. And so in the taxi, he was like, "Oh, did you see any pubs?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, we went to this one, this one, this one." And I mentioned Treaty City, and he was like, "That's a brewery." And
To be fair, they are different.
Yeah.
A pub is a bar. A brewery is a brewery that serves their own beer. Sometimes other beer.
It was just funny
mainly
how
their
he
own.
said it. Like he was correcting me. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a pub.
But there's a brewery across the street and other pubs all over the place.
Yeah.
But you go in and it's just this random ass building in the middle of this stuff and whatnot. It's a really cool area. I did like the area a lot.
It seemed like it had two venues,
It did, yeah. It
like
did
one
feel
upstairs and then one downstairs.
Like that. Oh, it did, right.
Yeah, and there was two doors because at first we went to the door that's on the sidewalk, but you had to go to the one that's like on the alley.
Very similar to like Reggie's, right?
Yeah.
Or even the Rave to some extent, where it has multiple venues and multiple shows going on.
Yeah,
Because
not that big though.
Not that big. No,
Yeah.
not that big. Because at the end of Evil, we went to go get our coats, and they had shut down the upstairs balcony area for the venue and moved the coats over to the other venue where I think another show was going on.
I think it was the silent disco.
Was it really?
I think so.
Oh, those are so much fun. You should do one once. They're so much fun.
Yeah, it depends on what the music is.
Oh, it's EDM. It's gonna be awesome. Okay. I did not.
I think so. I think I heard somebody say that.
I can't honestly remember what was going on. I just remember there being lights, kind of
Yeah.
like blue lights and whatnot going on in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
But yeah, multiple, at least two venues, all in the same sort of building. The venue we were in, I don't remember the name of it by any means. It's just Whelan's that we went into.
Yeah, I don't know if they had different names to the.
Yeah, I don't know. You get this nice little bar area, and then you go down into like the main floor. But there was also sort of a balcony area you can go up to, and that's where the coat check was. And on the floor, if you're looking at the stage, off the stage right, there's like this little risen area where all the merch and everything was that you could buy. And the first band was Psychosis, I believe, right?
Yes.
We just stood up there for like the first song, and then we went down
probably.
to the main floor.
I think it would have been better if we were like on the back end of the balcony, like looking down at the stage, but we were very close to the coat check, so we were like on the side, so it was kind of like over the band.
It was. We missed if we continued to stand there, you would have missed half of the band for sure.
Yeah.
Also, by the time they took the stage, there weren't that many people on the floor.
No,
I didn't feel like.
I never felt like the floor ever got packed. Anyways.
At the end of the night, I felt like it did.
Oh, I didn't. I thought I felt very comfortable.
I mean, I did too. I'm just saying, as the night went on, it got progressively fuller and fuller and fuller.
Oh yeah, it got fuller, but it was never packed. That's all I was saying.
I got you.
It was never
Okay,
packed.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess we didn't really talk about like the ticket prices here because these were in euros also. Let's not forget. So yeah, just to keep in mind, like we always talk about the ticket prices and everything, just to stay somewhat consistent. The tickets for this show were 24 euros and 0.5 euros in fees.
That's like 50 cents in dollars in fees.
Yeah, so it
Or
worked out to
45
be
cents, right?
26.16 for a ticket, and then 54 fucking cents for a fee.
Yeah.
Outrageously goddamn cheap. That is by far the cheapest
Yeah.
fee ever.
Where a couple shows before we spent $30 on a ticket and $11.29 for a fee.
Fucking 54 cents
Yep.
for a fee.
Yep.
How in the fuck, like that, looking back at this and looking at that fee, like again, I like to track it just to like view over time how things are going and like track what services are charging the biggest fees, what cities, if that makes a change or whatnot. 54 cents. Like I'm still astonished by that, in all honesty. It kind of pisses me off a lot.
But remember, Dublin is such an expensive city.
Everybody told us that.
Yeah.
And, like, even when I went to like pubs during the day to get lunch and whatnot, I would be talking to like the bartenders and whatnot, and they'd be like, "Oh, what have you been doing in Ireland?" "Oh, I went here, did this all show in Dublin at Whelan's." "Oh, I'm sorry, it's so expensive down there." And it's like, I got beers at Whelan's
For $7 or €7.
€7 for
Yeah.
a beer.
Yeah.
I went to a show. What was the last show we went to?
Ailstorm?
Elstorm. Yeah, and they were $16 a beer.
No, they weren't. They were 10
No.
for that little can.
For that can was $15 for that can.
I thought it was 10.
Because it was $20 with a tip plus water.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and then I went to a Cubs game today, opening day, and it was $16 for a beer there. So, yeah, no, Dublin is not that expensive compared to fucking Chicago, people.
Yeah, 7 years is not bad. Anyways,
Maybe compared to the rest of Europe, it's expensive, but from Chicago standards, it's cheap as shit.
yeah.
We just forgot to bring that up, but going back to the venue and everything, we end up going down to the floor for Psychosis. I do remember this band coming on and just being like, "Holy shit, this is thrash metal! This is fucking awesome!"
Yeah, they're they're from Dublin, but they're an Irish thrash metal band.
I can't remember a whole lot of their set.
And they're young. For people playing,
They're older. The next band is young.
I thought they were young.
They felt older to me. I didn't view them as crazy young. I view them maybe late 20s, early 30s ish, maybe.
That's young, especially for playing thrash metal.
Sure, that's sure, that's younger. The next band, Tortured Demon, to me was like 12-year-old kids playing. They were fucking young.
It might have been 20.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean.
This was their first. So, are we on Tortured Demon now?
No,
Sorry.
let's
Okay.
keep going about Psychosis. I don't remember a whole lot about the set, honestly, other than loving it. And I mean, we did add the set list to our playlist for all three of these bands, and we'll throw up like a little graph.
Yeah, we don't
of
have
all
like the
these.
songs for right now, but
But I do remember loving it. The thrash metal aspect, just being shocked by, holy shit, this not only is this thrash metal, but this is fucking killer thrash metal. Holy shit! I hope they get big enough to come to the States. Honestly,
yeah.
That's all I remember. And I do remember, to me, it felt like, oh, these guys are older, and maybe that's just I really suck at age anyway. So
No, I thought they were. I remember them being really young and thinking, "Oh, this is really awesome that there's a young band from Dublin playing thrash metal." I remember thinking that.
So by the end of the night, especially because all three bands, Psychosis, Torture Demon, and Evil, are thrash metal bands, and by the end of the night, I was like, holy shit! I did not think there was this much new thrash metal out there. And it made me so excited. Like, I had a blast all night long with all of these bands.
Yeah, yeah.
And is Psychosis the band you reached out to afterwards and asked for their set list?
I did.
So that's how we got the set list to add to our playlist. We took whatever they sent us on Instagram. That was really cool of them to do. Really great set. Again, don't remember a whole lot because it's been several weeks now. I just remember loving the overall experience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, when it's been a month at least from seeing this, it's hard to
And then
go
seeing
back
like
and
several other shows since then.
yeah, it's hard to go back and remember specific things from the show.
Sorry, I don't have anything more to say about Psychosis. Definitely check them out. They're fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Again, hopefully, fingers crossed that they get big enough to like make the journey over here to the States and play some shows. Like that'd be fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I really liked that we were in Ireland and saw an Irish band
Yeah.
that wasn't playing Irish music.
Yes, there's that.
So
Next, we get Tortured Demon, another band that again came out thrash metal and just fucking killed it.
and they're
on
from
stage.
the UK.
Okay, they're
Yeah,
from the UK.
yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that stuff.
This
about
was
them.
their first overseas show.
Oh, they did say that. I
Yes.
do remember that.
And I laughed out loud because I'm like, overseas, like to us, overseas is like US to the UK or something like that.
Yeah,
And
it's weird. Like somebody from like a French band being like, my first international show was in Belgium. Like it's you're right next door, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how that works.
But I'm like, I think I laughed out loud. I'm like, over the sea, not like overseas.
right. The English Channel, is that really a sea there?
What is that sea between Ireland and?
I don't think it's a sea. I think it's the English Channel is sort of the.
Is it really?
I think so. I think
Oh, I
it's
thought it
just-
was a sea.
I don't think it's considered a sea. I think it's a channel. Like it's just a little body of water in between.
Okay.
I don't know.
I
but-
don't know geography at all.
Neither do I. So don't take my my comments by any means. Anywho, again, another thrash band
Yeah.
that came out and fucking killed it. And we talked about this several times of shows that stick with one theme or sort of one musical style. This is all thrash all night long. And sometimes I like that. Sometimes I don't like that. I really liked it.
I know you would this night, yeah.
And I think it was at this point, it's like, oh, there's, as I said before with Psychosis, like, oh, there's new thrash metal. And it's at this point that I realized, wait, Psychosis was thrash metal. Tortured Demon is thrash metal. Holy shit, this is fucking awesome. I had a blast again.
Yeah, I really really enjoyed Tortured Demon. And you actually talked to the bass player later on. I remember seeing them walk by, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I so badly want to talk to them and be like, I want you to come to the States to play a show. But I never got a chance to say anything.
Sure. And we'll get into my little conversation with the bass player here soon. But when they got off stage, it did make me smile a little bit, because what you see a lot in live shows is people, like the crew, will take up the set list and throw them into the crowd and whatnot. This is a small venue.
Oh, yeah. There's no rail or anything.
Yeah,
You're just right up to the stage.
I'm trying to think what to compare it to here in Chicago, because I can't think of really anything.
Like a Cobra Lounge.
It's bigger than that, I feel like, though. It's
a little bit bigger, but not much.
It's maybe like a small, maybe a larger Reggie's to some extent.
Maybe. I think it's very similar to Cobra Lounge, except for there's that extra merch area off to the side.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't know. It felt larger, especially with the balcony. Maybe the balcony's throwing me off here.
Maybe.
Of adding the balcony bit, but maybe if you take the balcony out, I can see Cobra Lounge.
Yeah. So one of my coworkers actually lives in Dublin, and she drove down to Limerick to work for the time being or whatever. But when she found out I was seeing a show in Dublin, she asked oh, where are you seeing the show at? I was like, oh, it's a venue. I think it's called Whelan's. And obviously then I had no clue what it was. And she's like, oh, it's just a bar show.
Yeah.
So, I mean, think of it that way. It's like a bar in the front and then a venue in the back.
I could see that. Okay, so maybe Cobra Lounge and Reggie's, somewhere in between the two of those, or a mix of the both, because Reggie's does have sort of that balcony area. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I can see Cobra Lounge now for sure.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Cobra Lounge.
Both of those stages, though, as you pointed out, here in Chicago, Cobra Lounge and Reggie's also have no sort of barrier, just sort of like you go up on the stage. And as you said, this one was the same way. And after the show got done, I just saw a fan reach up and grab the set list and rip it off.
Yeah.
And then you instantly went up to him, tapped him on the shoulder. Can I take a photo of that? And that's how we got the set list for Tortured Demon to throw onto our thing.
Yeah.
A little bit later, the rest of the band comes out with baggies of picks and start handing them out to fans and whatnot. It was later in Evil. I went to the restroom or got a beer or something or both. I don't know what it was. But I was walking back onto the floor, and the bass player for Tortured Demon was walking by. And I only recognized him, I think it was the bass player, because of his tattoo, his Norse rune tattoo he had on his arm. And I was like, oh shit. I tapped him on the arm. I was like, fucking awesome set. You guys are awesome. And then I don't know if he said anything to me or he just sort of nods, but he reaches into his pocket and gives me a pick. And I was like, oh, thanks. And that ended the conversation. I just turned around and walked away.
We're so bad.
So I could have had a conversation man, I would really love to see you in the States. You guys are fucking awesome. Instead, no, I got stage fright. And it's oh, maybe it came off as oh, cool, I got what I wanted. Now I'm done with this transaction.
Maybe it did.
But I didn't want it to be that way. It's I was very awkward in that situation.
Yeah.
But that was my interaction with...
Yeah. I mean, it could have just been loud as well, and he was like, oh, it's hard to have a conversation right now. Or
could have been.
So.
I felt weird after it happened, but then I was standing next to you, and it's kind of weird now to go back and talk to him again.
Yeah.
So
I always feel weird after conversation. Even if it's a normal conversation afterwards, I'm like, that was weird. So.
Anywho, Tortured Demon, fucking awesome set. Then we get Evil, the headliners of this tour. And show. Yeah, I guess it was a tour, wasn't it?
It was a tour, yeah. A UK tour.
It's really weird to think of it that way.
UK and Ireland tour.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did get a shirt with dates on the back from the UK and Ireland, which I was super happy to get one of those.
Yeah. And the shirt is basically their album cover I don't know their new album, but it's basically the album cover, except for it was skulls or skeletons instead of the two people, because it's like two people like kind of together like this, like holding each other.
Yeah, I like the shirt a lot.
Sorry.
No, it's all good.
So awkward.
Great time. The crowd was fucking awesome. It was the pack. Like, there were a lot of people in the crowd for this. There was if I remember correctly, there was some crowd surfing, which is really weird to me because it was more of people would raise somebody up to crowd surf.
And then you just go in circles.
And you go in circles or you go back. You're not going toward the stage.
No, there's nowhere to go.
You just, like, wherever the crowd takes you,
there was
where you go.
one person, like, that was crowd surfing, and then all of a sudden, like, they're just taking you all over the place, and all of a sudden he's like I'm done. Like, because there's no end to it. It's just you're going around in circles.
We were next to the pit at one point, and somebody, like, runs into us who's in the pit, and they, like, stop and, like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry I ran into you. It's like, what the fuck? You're in the pit. Of course, you're going to run into people.
They were so polite.
They were giving out, like, when you got a beer, if you got, like, a Guinness, you got a fucking glass. Like a
Was it glass or plastic?
I think it was glass.
Okay. Because yours was yours was plastic.
Mine was plastic. But
we
I
did
think,
see
like, the
glass
Guinnesses.
shot glasses, too.
Yep.
But yeah, and like glass bottles. They give out glass bottles at the shows. But the the plastic is not like a plastic cup like you get here that's just like a one and throw away sort of thing. It's like a reusable plastic cup. So it's like a very sturdy plastic cup that and like everybody stacks them very nicely. Like there's no throwing them.
When you're done, you don't throw it down.
No, you go and stack it on the little bar thing on the wall or by the wall. Very kindly, they'll say like, excuse me, or they'll hand it to somebody. It's just so, like, the culture is just a little bit different.
A little bit different. And so, like, I don't know. This was our first show in Ireland. I loved this show all around. From top to bottom.
It was so much fun.
All the bands, the crowd, the venue, the city of Dublin itself. Like, I had a blast at this show.
I do have to say, at first I was, like, super excited because I'm like, oh, my gosh, we're going to see a show in Ireland. It's going to be so awesome. Once it started, I'm like, it's a show.
Yeah.
Like, not meaning like a bad thing, but it's just like, it was so normal. So, I mean, everything's just the same.
I think we talked about that leaving it, like, where you're like, this, I don't know what to expect. Like, this is exactly what it was in the States. And a part of me was like, but it wasn't, because of, like, the little nuances where you talk about, like, throwing this shit on the ground and whatnot. Like, it wasn't the same, but at the same time, it was the same. Yeah. Like, the metal community, regardless of where you go, it's a metal show. It's what you expect at a metal show.
Yeah. It was funny because I think that night you wore a Vended shirt, and like some guy asked you like, "Where'd you see Vended?" And you're like, "In the States." Like, we're not from here. But I guess Vended's gonna be playing that venue later this year, like in September or October. I can't remember.
And they may have already played. Honestly,
they could have. No, I think it's this fall.
Was it? I thought I was wrong. Maybe it's like in May.
Oh, maybe.
Whatever.
Well, May's not over yet.
May is not over yet when we're recording this. In any case, I completely forgot about that. Where the guy's like, "Where'd you see them?" And I was like, "Oh, in the States, blah blah, here." He was like, "Oh, was it good?" It's like, "It's fucking awesome."
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, they're gonna be here." It's like, "You going?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm going." It's like, "Fuck yeah!" Like, that's awesome. Like,
it's like the world community coming together.
Yeah, it was really really cool. Didn't really talk much about Evil Set, but again, their set list is on our playlist.
I remember thinking their music, not comparing it to Metallica, but I could see the songs were so good. I could see Metallica playing those songs.
If Metallica was like younger and they would have wrote those songs. Or...
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like just awesome, like such good thrash metal music.
Yeah, it really was. I enjoyed their set so much.
I really, after seeing it, I was like, oh man, I wish we would have seen it in Limerick and in Dublin. Like, seeing them twice on one tour would have been really cool.
I remember them just being like, the crowd would chant evil, 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 right, in between songs. And they would come out and be like, we've never gotten more than 2 evils before in one show. So thank you so much for doing that. And then like a third and fourth like chant of evil came out. And like just the looks on their faces of being like sheer joy and smiles and whatnot. Yeah.
And on the tour, I think it was just Evil and Tortured Demon. So I'm not sure if in every city, if they had a different opener. Like, because Psychosis was from Dublin. So I just don't remember Psychosis being on the bill, like when we booked it. So I'm wondering if it was one of those things that they had a different opener, or no opener, but like a different opener maybe.
If somebody was available. I mean, Chemist kind of did the same thing with Mother of Graves,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
When we saw Chemist. We weren't expecting Mother of Graves, and we got Mother of Graves, and I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit, these guys are fucking awesome.
Yeah. And at first I thought that they were Torture Demon because they played on Torture Demon's kit.
They did, yeah.
So I just assumed it was Torture Demon, and then they said like, oh, we're Psychosis from Dublin or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, you're a different band. So when you don't know the bands, you don't know.
All in all, though, this was a great first overseas show to see.
Yes.
Really, like as you said, reinforce the idea that it's a metal community. Regardless of where you go, it's going to be the same vibe, regardless.
Yes.
Metal fans are metal fans. Like you're gonna be welcomed.
Yes.
So
100%.
don't worry about or don't fear about going to see a show somewhere else. Like you're gonna be welcomed.
Yeah, and I mean, if you have a night, try to do what we did and just find a show in town, even if it's a small show like this. It's really fun.
Yeah. The following Friday in Limerick, we went to Dolan's.
Yeah, on March 8th.
On March 8th to see IEDC. I always fuck that name.
I know. I think a couple times I said ICDC because it kind of makes sense, like ICDC, but IEDC, which for Ireland, the abbreviation I believe is IE.
Yeah, the 2-letter code is IE.
Yeah.
And then /DC for ACDC.
Yeah,
IEDC. This was at Dolan's, as we said. When we were in Limerick, we walked up to Dolan's earlier in the week.
Well, we went on Monday.
Yes.
And they're closed on Mondays.
They're only open like
Wednesday through Saturday.
Is it Wednesday through Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The thought was because it's also a restaurant, so we thought we would go up there, figure out where the venue is beforehand, get some food while we're there, explore the area around it. We walked up there, found the venue. Turns out it was closed, so we had to find food somewhere else. But then we went back up the Wednesday, a couple days later, to actually get food there and explore a little more. And then that's how we sort of figured it out. But it is this old sort of warehouse.
It's called Dolan's Warehouse, by the way.
Oh, is it really Dolan's Warehouse?
The venue that we were in, because I think there's 3 venues there, if I remember right.
Yep.
And the stage we were at is called Dolan's Warehouse.
This felt very Reggie's-esque to me.
It did, very much.
Much more than Whelan's did.
Okay. I didn't compare Whelan's to
Reggie's. I'm not trying to compare one to the other. I'm trying to like wrap my head, anchor it to something that I'm familiar with.
Oh, okay.
That way I can reference like, oh, this is like this, so I know what to expect.
I see. Sorry, I thought it sounded like you were correcting me. Like
No. So. In my head, that's what I'm doing. So Dolan's of the two, like with the restaurant and sort of how it's all set together. It has a roof deck just like Reggie's does. It felt very basically Ireland's version of Reggie's to me.
Sure.
In my head, my own like thought process.
Sure. No, I understand. I thought you were explaining the venue, so.
No, I am.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
But yeah, the food we got there was fine. I don't remember it being spectacular by any means.
I got the lamb stew and I didn't like it.
I got some like breaded chicken or
I hardly ate any of it, and the waitress was even like, "Oh, you didn't like it?" I was like, "Well, I was trying it. It was Irish food, not for me."
But the pints were good. They were beer, so sure. I mean they were awesome. We came back later to go to the venue for the show. We didn't eat dinner there the next time, but whatever, we experienced that.
Which I'm glad it was so busy.
It was very busy the night of the show.
Yeah. I think they take reservations on the nights of shows.
Oh, do they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was going to say so good to know for next time, but I don't know for going back to Limerick. But
it was like a long and narrow restaurant, too.
Yeah.
So to get to the...
Well, there's kind of two. So there's like the front half, and then you go through a doorway, and then there's another half, and then you go through another doorway, and there's another seating area. And then you get to the stage, or then you get to the venue.
Yeah, another seating area is sort of like this little waiting area where you can go up to the roof deck as well.
Yeah. And for the show, I saw that's where the merch was.
Okay.
So.
But yeah, the venue itself, it was weird for this particular setup because there were tables set up all over the floor. Like there was a little bit of floor pit area closest to the stage. But the vast majority of the floor had these sort of high top tables, and I can't remember if there were stools or not.
No, there were.
Were there? Okay.
Yeah, there was like 4 stools around the tables.
There was a bar down there as well. We saw the stairs to go up to the balcony, so we did that, which was more seating all along the balcony, like booth style seating. We also found sort of like a high top ledge type thing that we ended up hanging out for almost all the night.
Yeah, honestly. Like by the soundstage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because. Honestly, it was kind of hard to see unless you were right up on the rail. it was kind of hard to see when you were in the like stadium booth seating type stuff. Just like the angle was really bad. So, and we like to see what we're seeing. So,
So we're hanging up out there, and the band takes the stage. They start playing Led Zeppelin. I can't remember exactly what Led Zeppelin song it was, honestly. I just remember it was a Led Zeppelin song. And I was like, oh, shit. I thought this was a AC/DC tribute band, but it's awesome. We're getting some Zeppelin. Turns out it was an opener that we did not expect to get.
Oh, yeah.
Which was Halcyon Age. I think I'm saying that. I think I'm saying that right.
Might not be saying it right, but they were basically a cover band.
Yeah, basically a cover band doing all sorts of music, not just.
Because they did. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, they did some Judas Priest, some Metallica.
Oh, they did. Yeah, I forgot. Well, because
Judas Priest is going to be in. They've already played, I think, but they were going to be in Dublin. Shortly
I forgot about
that.
They did Metallica and Megadeth. And it's like, holy shit, they're going to do the big four.
Yeah.
But I think those were the only two they did. They
yeah.
didn't do Anthrax or Slayer.
Yeah.
Which was a little disappointing. If you're gonna
do two of them, you gotta do.
And they even called it out too.
Yeah.
Like, we played one of the big four. What's next?
Yeah.
And they go into Megadeth, and it's like, all right, well, clearly you're gonna do all the four.
Yeah.
And then they went like Judas Priest after that. It's like that's not Anthrax or Slayer. What the fuck are you doing to me?
But I was really confused too because I didn't realize it was an opener either, and I was like, I thought that this was AC/DC.
Yep.
Tribute band, and I was like, well, maybe they're just playing some covers as well.
They didn't play a single AC/DC song.
They didn't, but I was like really confused.
Yeah.
I wonder if that band does play. Well, so we didn't really say this, but the vocalist was actually the vocalist for IEDC as well.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on there. Like if they need a vocalist or if he just plays in both bands or what's
maybe
going
like,
on.
hey, I'm in both bands. But yeah, maybe that's a good segue then into IEDC because he was the same singer for both bands. I was pleasantly happy with the opener. I was happy to get an opener, but now we get IEDC, the main reason we're there, which is an AC/DC tribute band, as we've said several times already, I think.
Oh, maybe.
I enjoyed their set.
I did too.
Not the absolute biggest AC/DC fan. I like AC/DC a lot. The Black Album is one of the greatest albums I think ever made that they put together. And all in all, I like their music, but there was a lot of tracks they played, IEDC that is, played that I wasn't necessarily familiar with, in all honesty.
Yeah, I think that helped me a lot enjoy it a little bit more because otherwise it's like the same songs over and over and over that
you already know.
The radio plays or it's on movies or bands use it before going on stage and stuff, and it's kind of, I don't want to say overdone, but it's way overdone. So it was nice to play some tracks that are not, at least from what I know, mainstream. I mean, they're mainstream, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, they're not played all the time.
Right, exactly. They're not like the radio hits, as you said before. I made a trip down to the floor every now and then back up. It had filled out quite a bit. The floor by now was actually full of people, not really moshing or anything, but they were dancing and shit.
Yeah.
I do remember that and being like, what the fuck? The crowd felt a little bit older, but then again, it is IEDC. Like, it's an AC/DC tribute band, right? Like, these.
We could have been the youngest people there.
In all honesty, when a Slipknot tribute band comes out, we're going to be going to those shows every night here in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
and we're going to be the old people there.
Right. This is going to be us in 10 years going to
any
Slipknot
show.
tribute.
We're already, sometimes we go to shows and I'm like, we were too old to be there.
Yeah. But I don't know. I had a great time. I thought this venue was awesome.
I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad I got to see Evil's show beforehand. Yeah. Because while I did really, really enjoy this, I kind of got bored toward the end.
I did too. It was longer.
Yeah.
And I was kind of over it. I don't want to say over it, but
yeah, it's different because I mean, I like AC/DC. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan. If this was a Metallica tribute band or something, I would gladly listen to Metallica.
I know, yeah.
It's just that different sort of opinion, right?
Yeah.
But all in all, the band was fucking awesome. Their set was awesome. Their sound was awesome. The crowd was super fucking into it. That was awesome. It was a great experience all around. I'm glad I got to do it.
Yeah, I'm glad we went to this show as well because we'll talk about this more when we get to the solo shows, but I was glad that we went because it made me more comfortable knowing the venue and knowing how it, I don't want to say worked. I mean, almost all venues are almost the same, but like I knew the flow. I knew
You knew where everything was. You knew how
Yeah.
to like get in and out. And because,
Yeah.
I mean, even at the top, like if you went down, it was weird. If you went down a staircase to the men's restroom, you were now in the like this back little area
in a hallway. Yeah.
that you
yeah.
could take up to the other staircase that took you to the other side. Like
Yeah.
it's this weird little box area that's sort of mazy to some extent.
Yeah.
And that's sort of that little hallway area is where I would expect the merch to have been for the
yeah.
cattle decapitation show.
No, it was in that front area. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so I was glad that we went to see it so that I knew the venue
Yeah.
before
and
going to the show by myself.
a surprise opener is always
Yeah.
a great thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's always great. More music's always great.
Didn't talk about pricing for this. We did for the
Oh.
other band.
Yeah, this
Pricing
one was
real quick for this.
15 euros, I think.
You are right. 15 euros and 0.34 euros in fees, which turns out in US monies. At the time we did this conversion, conversion rate changed and all that. $16.28 and 37 fucking cents in fees. Again, when I go to compare it to the different venues and whatnot, it helps because now I can go back here and I can look at Reggie's shows we went to, or even Cobra Lounge. Oh, that doesn't work because they use a different venue. Yeah, like here we go, Bottom Lounge, right? We saw a show there that was $29.50, $5.46 in fees. So similar sort of bar venue
Yeah.
type show, but yet far more fees associated. Goddamn, Europe's awesome.
Except for the rain. It rained every single
I'm fine
day.
with that. I'm fucking fine with that,
no.
honestly.
No, it rained every day. Need some sunshine.
I'd take less sun for less fees.
To save some money.
That sounds like a great trade-off to me. You can have the sun, give me less fees. Like,
But there was only 3 shows in 3 weeks that we could have went to.
there is that. There need to be more shows. So
Which probably doesn't sound bad to some people, but to
Yeah,
us
yes.
it's like we need more shows.
all right. So the camera died, and now our cat's playing with the ping pong ball. So enjoy that noise, folks. It's not bothering us, and that's all that matters.
He's gonna knock over the whole bookshelf.
Yep.
Any hoodles, we're going to talk more about doing stuff in Ireland.
But besides the 2 live shows we saw, like the 2 traditional live shows we saw, we did experience music in other ways in Ireland.
Yes.
The next way is sort of this Irish music museum thing that they have.
Irish Rock and Roll Museum.
See, I wanted to say that, but I always think like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I always want to say those
I think
words.
it's Rock and Roll Museum.
I think so.
Yeah.
But this was in Dublin. We're going to do a whole 6/6 on this, but it's this recording studio / museum / live venue / bar. Like it's
Yes, all those things.
all these things in one. It's super awesome.
They have Michael Jackson's pajamas.
They do have his pajamas.
But we'll talk about that more.
Yeah, we'll talk about that more. It's a super fucking cool museum in Dublin. Definitely worth checking out. If we ever go back, I'd definitely check this out.
Oh, I
again.
would too, yeah.
The tour guide makes
Yes.
the whole time. Like we had Alan as our
We
tour
did have
guide.
Alan, so if you go, hopefully you get Alan. He'll have his cardigan on.
Yeah, he's super fucking awesome. We'll talk about that during the 666. Eventually, we'll record that, but that was a blast as well. Super cool. Go check that out. Another music experience thing you can do.
That might have to be an encore, not a 666.
It might be. We'll see how long that
We're
goes.
going to go a long time, I think.
We're gonna do the same thing we did with I always want to say Ronnie the Rat because of Always Sunny, but it's Ronnie Rackin.
Ronnie Rackin?
Ronnie Rackin sort of rant at Rockfest.
Yeah.
That started out as a 666 as well. That turned into
A 27-minute thing. I don't know how long it was.
Hour and a half.
I don't know how long it
It's
was.
fucking long.
It was really long.
But that's probably, you're right. This museum thing we're gonna do will probably turn into something very similar to
Yeah.
that. So we'll see what happens there. But something for that will come out. So we're not gonna talk super in depth about the museum experience.
In 2 years, when we do our Ireland vlog, there'll be some shots in that from there.
Also that, yes. Whenever that the fuck comes out.
We need to get focused.
Yeah. Joe, vlogs will be coming soon. Whenever I can get some time to edit those things.
If your name's not Joe, you don't care.
We have a lot recorded, but just need to get some time to actually get that shit done. Anywho, moving on. The next and sort of final topic I wanted to talk about in terms of Irish music that we experienced, at least while in Ireland, was sort of bar music. And you have bar music here in the States. Like, we'll go to restaurants or just bars with patios and whatnot, and there'll be random musicians from time to time out on the patio. Sometimes it's like every Thursday in the summer, come out to our patio and we'll have live music.
Yeah.
And we'll do that. Like, we'll seek that out and do that. Like, it's a lot of fun to go do that. I told some friends I was going to Ireland, and their response was, "Oh my God, you're going to love it. What are you wanting to do? What are you wanting? Like, you need to go here, you need to go do this, but what do you want to do?" And it's like, honestly, I just want to go to a pub, and I want to hear live music randomly, just in pubs and shit. Like, that's a stereotype I've sort of always associated with. Like, you just hear random fucking music wherever. You're going to hear it more prevalent than you will here in the States. And some people who had been there were like, "Oh, you will. People are just going to break out fucking fiddles all the time and start playing. It's going to be awesome. You're going to love it. It's going to be great." That kind of sort of happened the first night we were there in Dublin, because in that hotel, they had live music on Fridays and Saturdays, and Sundays also, or just Fridays?
No, Fridays and Saturdays, I think.
And I came in on a Friday and a Saturday as well. And down in that little bar area, restaurant area in the hotel, they had a musician come in at like 9 o'clock at night and put his shit up and just play fucking music, and it was awesome. We went there the first night to listen to him some. We walked in while he was setting up, and we weren't sure if he was setting up or tearing down because it was 9 o'clock. And we're like, what's going on? Like, I would have expected you here earlier. And he's like, nope, just setting up. You're not from around here, clearly. Where are you all from? We're like, Chicago. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to sing you this song tonight if you come back down. And we came back down, he sung it. I can't remember, but it's a traditional Irish song about immigrants moving to Chicago.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Like, if it's... gosh.
It's a woman's name, I believe.
A woman's name?
I think so, like Maggie something or other.
No, it's just something Chicago. There's like a word in the Chicago.
You think so?
Yeah.
I thought it was Maggie something.
No. It was definitely something Chicago. Because somebody else brought it up, like, at the office in Ireland as well. Like, oh, yeah, they played some Chicago song, and he said it. But I guess it's just a general folk song in Irish about people coming over to Chicago.
Yeah.
I should have looked up the song.
All in all, that was a great experience. It was super awesome. We just sat there, had a couple pints, and listened to this guy sing, and he had a great fucking voice. It was a normal bar atmosphere from like a hotel perspective. Like, just, it was a hotel bar with live music. It was awesome. I had a great time doing that. Yeah,
and he played the acoustic guitar plus a violin plus had a harmonica, if I remember right.
I forgot about that. He did. Yeah. Depending on the song would depend on the combination.
Like, sometimes he would play guitar and put it on a loop with a pedal, and then play the violin or whatever. Yep. So, and then sing with it as well. Yep. Yeah.
But that sort of set the stage in terms of like, all right, we're going to hear music everywhere we go. However, that really wasn't the case. I didn't really pick up that much music all over the place like I had hoped. A few pubs we went into, and there was just sort of pubs, no live music.
It's just called City of Chicago.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes.
That's the one? All right.
Yeah.
The two other places, though, that had live music in the bar were the Lock Bar, not far from our hotel in Limerick, and Dolan's. When we left the IEDC show, there were just people, like, it was fucking crowded by that point in the night. This was like 11:30, 12 at night or something. Fucking crowd, people all over the place in this bar. In one little corner of a table, there were like 6 people playing instruments and singing, and like the whole restaurant sort of like just beating away with on their legs and shit and whatnot. I was a little tired and wanted to go to sleep honestly at that time, but I could have honestly sat there and listened to that, I think, more than IEDC. Oh. I think I would have had more fun hanging out there just in the bar than I would at that show.
When we went on Wednesday night to eat dinner at Dolan's, I noticed that table says musicians table.
Oh, really?
So in my mind, I was like, oh, when musicians are playing a show, they get their own reserved table so that they get a bite to eat before playing or whatever. Not realizing that it's the musicians playing for the bar, not the other way around. So, because the night of Cavitation was the same thing. There was a band.
Was it
there
really?
Was people playing there, yeah. Not a band, but.
See, that would have been more. I think that would have been a blast just to hang out there. Like, that is an experience I would have enjoyed, I think, a little bit more than the tribute band aspect, honestly.
Okay.
Again, if it was a Metallica tribute band, I probably would have enjoyed the Metallica tribute band. But because it's AC/DC and not like such a core of my personality and like the music style I like it. Just, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And then we talked about the Lock Bar again.
The Lock Bar, I guess, is very touristy in Limerick. So
is it really?
Yeah. So at least the way I understand it is a lot of tourists go there.
Okay.
And I think the music starts at 9:00 at night. I think it's normally two guys with guitar.
Okay.
And a fiddle. Was it a fiddle?
So the night we went were two guys. They transitioned between guitars and fiddles between the both of them.
And then they had an Irish dancer as well.
They did have like a tap dancer. She'd come out every now and then and tap every now and then. That was a lot of fun. That was a blast, I felt like.
Yeah.
Lock Bar also had like the best fried chicken sandwich I've ever had. Like better than Kuma's, honestly. Like I loved that fucking thing so much. I'd go back for that chicken sandwich. But
you got to hear Whiskey in a Jar.
We did.
In Ireland.
When they started playing Whiskey in the Jar, I was like, holy shit, this is my favorite Metallica cover of all time. I love this fucking song. This is awesome. It's Thin Lizzy. This is fucking killer. We went to the Irish Museum tour after this.
Yeah.
I knew Whiskey in the Jar was from Thin Lizzy. I didn't realize Thin Lizzy was an Irish band.
Yeah.
I just assumed like Whiskey in the Jar, like, hey, the stereotype is we're Irish and we drink a lot of whiskey and we're drunk. So let's sing Whiskey in the Jar, make people happy about us. Like, haha, laugh at us type thing. I didn't realize it was an actual Irish song.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
I love that. It was so fucking awesome to hear them play that song. I can't remember any other songs they played, honestly.
I don't know any of them.
I recorded a couple seconds from each one.
Yeah.
But
it wasn't like, and nothing else jumped out to me of a song that I knew.
There was one where they were like, here's a call and repeat. You guys sing the chorus. And then it was sort of like a easy chorus. And then it got harder and harder and harder.
Oh, yeah. It got faster and faster and faster. Yeah. I remember that. I don't know the song, but yeah, I remember that.
I wish we would have spent more time at the Lock Bar for that music as well. So.
Well, we went one other time. Oh, the Sunday that we got back but we were there way too early.
I was beat. Like jet lag was hitting me hard.
Yeah.
Plus the show the night before for Evil and whatnot. Like everything all of a sudden hit me all at once.
Yeah.
And
that's hard. It's hard to get over there.
But yeah, it wasn't the music wasn't as prevalent as I'd hoped it would have been.
I bet if we would have been in Dublin the whole time, it would have been more prevalent than Limerick.
But it was out there. You just had to find it. And apparently, if you went to Dolan's and sat near that music table.
Oh, yeah.
The night we went, there wasn't anybody in that music table, but apparently on weekends, there's a lot more music there.
Well, no, because I went on a Wednesday night to see Cattle Decapitation. There was a band there.
Huh.
But not when I walked in, there wasn't. But when I left, there was. So I don't know. Maybe it's a late night thing as well.
Or if there's a show that night type thing. You know, there's going to be people there. Because that night we went, there wasn't a show.
Right.
And there wasn't
very many people. Yeah.
In any case, lots of music all over Ireland. Very music-focused culture as well. I had a blast seeing all the shows we saw.
I'm glad that we saw a couple shows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I was telling work, like people here in Chicago at work, they were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. We have like nothing planned, but we already bought some tickets for some shows." And they were like, "Oh, of course you are," because we see. I was like, "I'm basically gonna live my life there, I would here, so I'm gonna go see some shows while I'm there."
Yeah, I'm glad I came for this week and saw these two shows. I mean, based on the way I would have come out, it definitely would have been IEDC for sure. That was going to be either my first show or my last show.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I'm glad that you saw Evil because I didn't know that they were like thrash metal before going to see them. So I'm glad that we chose that side because Cattle Decapitation and Signs of the Swarm, like we've seen both of them and also not thrash metal.
Yeah,
It's not your music.
I like their metal for sure. I like their music for sure.
Yeah.
But I do gravitate more towards the thrash metal side of things than I do the death metal-y aspect of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. All in all, it was a great time. I'm glad we went to go and do it. I'm glad we got to go. And do it.
Yeah. Thank you to my work
Right.
for asking me to go, because that gave us the opportunity.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would never have gone out there. Right.
Oh no, yeah.
So
I don't think
either one of us.
I don't know if we would have made it to Ireland.
So I guess that brings up a question to ask you then. We talked a little bit about this while we were in Ireland. I absolutely fucking loved Limerick. I loved Dublin. I loved Ireland. Everybody. The culture, the people. I guess that's not the same thing, but you know what I mean. The culture, the people, the atmosphere, the scenery, just everything about Ireland I loved so fucking much. I would instantly go back if I had the opportunity. However, I don't think I'll ever go back. And not because I don't want to. It's more of, okay, I've been here. I haven't been to Spain. I haven't been to France. I haven't been to Germany. I haven't been to Switzerland or Sweden.
I was like, you had to say Sweden.
Right? Like,
yeah, no, there's so much more out there that we want to see.
Italy, Greece.
Yeah.
And that's just Europe. That's not talking Asia, Africa, South America, Australia, fucking Australia.
Yeah.
Like,
there's just so much more. I thought the same thing where, I mean, obviously if I get asked back with work or something, I will go, but more than likely you won't
I probably won't, yeah.
because we can't afford
Yep.
to fly you over there again. But I think I don't see myself going back.
I want to. I really, really want to.
There's a lot that I wanted to see. I would want to go in the summer.
Yep.
Because it was pretty cold. Like, it was 70s here in Chicago in February, and there it was 40s.
Yeah, and then we come back here and it's back in the 30s. Like,
but the week that you were there was in the 70s.
Missed the greatest temperature in February, and then cold again.
But yeah, so I would rather go in the summer when I guess you do get rain and sunshine, so you get kind of both, which is why Ireland's so green all the time. But yeah, I had a blast. I too don't see myself going back just because there's so much more I want to do.
Yeah, it's same. Like, I don't know. I would love to go back.
Yeah.
And
if we had unlimited funds, unlimited time.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But since it costs quite a bit to get over there and limited time, I would rather do something new than go back to the same place.
But regardless of where we end up, we're going to go try to see some live music.
Oh, yeah.
Live music's everywhere. It's fucking awesome. Seek it out. Wherever you go, whatever city you're in, wherever you're from, if you go to see live music, you're with your people. It's going to be awesome. Live music is so fucking powerful and amazing in that way. So seek it out. Go see it. It's fucking phenomenal.